Be me, name is Rachel. 36, been married to Tom for 7 years. Met him in grad school. Always thought we had the perfect relationship. Both educated, both progressive, both believed in equality. Everything was great until about 2 years ago when I started really educating myself. Got deep into feminist theory, reading books, following activists online. Started seeing patterns everywhere in media, in society, in my own marriage. Realized how much emotional labor I was doing that Tom didn't even notice. Like I was the one who remembered birthdays, planned dinners, managed our social calendar. Started pointing it out to him. Hey, I need you to be more aware of this stuff. He'd apologize, try to do better, but it never felt like enough. I joined online groups, women sharing stories about their partners. How men take up space, how they touch without asking, how they assume access. Started recognizing these patterns in Tom too. One night, he came up behind me in the kitchen and wrapped his arms around me. Used to love when he did that, but suddenly it felt different. Like he was just taking what he wanted, without checking if I wanted it. I went stiff and stepped away from him. Tom, I need you to ask for consent before touching me. He looked so confused. We'd been married 5 years at that point. But I'd been reading about how marriage isn't blanket consent. How women's bodies are constantly treated as available to their husbands. I wasn't going to be that woman who just accepted it. He apologized and said he'd ask first from now on, which he did every single time after that. Can I hug you? Can I hold your hand? Can I kiss you? At first I felt empowered, like I was setting healthy boundaries. My online friends celebrated me for teaching my husband about consent. But after a few months something felt off. The way he asked felt so formal, so distant, like we were strangers. And I'd say yes, but then I'd feel guilty, like I was doing him a favor. Started saying no more often because I didn't want to feel obligated. Tom stopped asking as much. I figured he was finally respecting my space. Our bedroom life completely died, went from regular intimacy to almost nothing. I told myself it was fine, that I didn't need sex to feel fulfilled. That prioritizing my own comfort over his needs was healthy and feminist. My online groups agreed, told me I was decentering male pleasure, that it was good to make men uncomfortable, to disrupt their expectations. But Tom started sleeping on the couch more and more. I told myself he was just giving me space like I asked. Didn't really think about how it might be affecting him. 6 months ago, he suggested couples therapy. I got defensive immediately, told him therapy was just another form of emotional labor. That he should do his own work, read his own books, figure himself out. He didn't bring it up again after that. I kept reading, kept learning, kept evolving my understanding. Bought this book about decentering men from your life. I was so excited about the concepts, wanted to share them with Tom. Found him washing dishes one night and started reading passages out loud. About how women need to stop prioritizing male comfort. How marriage is a patriarchal institution designed to control women. He just kept washing dishes, didn't say anything. Tom, are you even listening to me? He turned off the water and looked at me with this expression I'd never seen. Rachel, I've spent 2 years trying to understand your perspective. I ask permission to touch you. I walk on eggshells constantly. I second-guess everything I say and do around you. And I'm exhausted. I'm so exhausted. I felt defensive. You're being dramatic. I just want you to be more aware. Aware of what exactly? That you don't want me anymore. That's not fair. I never said that. You don't have to say it. You show it every single day. I didn't know what to say to that. Left the kitchen and cried on the couch. Felt completely misunderstood. He didn't come comfort me, and that made me even more upset. 2 days later, I was lying in bed alone again. Tom had been sleeping on the couch for 3 nights straight. I realized I couldn't remember the last time he'd touched me. Not asked to touch me, just actually touched me. So, I asked him at breakfast, "Why did you stop touching me? You never initiate anymore. I feel like we've lost all physical intimacy." He froze, coffee pot in his hand. "Are you serious right now?" "Yes, I feel like we've become roommates instead of partners." He put the coffee pot down very carefully. Rachel, you told me I needed to ask consent before touching you. So I started asking, and you made it feel like a chore. Like every hug or kiss was an imposition on your space. Eventually, I stopped asking because getting rejected by my own wife was more painful than just not trying at all. His words hit me like ice water. I didn't mean for you to stop completely. Then what did you mean? Because I'm genuinely confused. I tried to explain about mindfulness and presence, but it sounded hollow. He cut me off. I am mindful. I'm so mindful I'm paralyzed. I can't make a move without wondering if it's going to upset you. That's not what I wanted, I said quietly. But it's what happened. I'm living with someone who sees me as a threat. You're not a threat, Tom. Then why do I have to ask permission to hold your hand? Why does every touch feel like a negotiation instead of affection? I started crying because he was right. Everything I'd learned, everything I'd applied, it had backfired completely. I never wanted you to feel that way, I whispered. But I do, he said. I feel like I'm constantly failing some test. Like everything I do is evidence of toxic masculinity or male entitlement. I'm just a guy who loves his wife and wants to be close to her. But you've made that impossible. We both sat there crying at the breakfast table. After a long silence, I asked if he wanted a divorce. The question came out before I could stop it. I don't know, he said, do you? No, but I don't know how to fix this either. He suggested therapy again, and this time I agreed. We found a therapist the next week, woman in her 50s named Dr. Chen. First session, I explained everything I'd learned about consent and boundaries. All the theory, all the frameworks, all the patterns I'd identified.
Dr.
Chen listened carefully, then turned to Tom. He told his side, the loneliness, the rejection, the constant fear. Then Dr. Chen asked me a question that stopped me cold. When you ask Tom to get consent before touching you, what are you protecting yourself from? I thought about it, from feeling like an object, I guess. From being touched when I don't want to be. Has Tom ever touched you when you explicitly said no? I paused. No, never. Has he ever pressured you or made you feel unsafe? No, I admitted quietly. He's never done any of that. So the consent issue isn't about Tom's behavior. It's about your fear. I started crying. I just didn't want to be taken for granted. My mom was in a marriage where she had no voice, no autonomy. I swore I'd never end up like that. Dr. Chen nodded. So you overcorrected. You applied frameworks designed for unsafe situations to a marriage where safety wasn't actually the issue. That framework created distance instead of protection. The realization was crushing. I'd been so focused on not being my mother that I'd pushed away a man who never gave me a reason to. Tom has never hurt me, never disrespected me, never made me feel small. But I treated him like he was guilty of crimes other men committed. Dr. Chen gave us homework. I had to initiate touch 3 times that week. Without overthinking it, without making it a whole consent thing. Just genuine affection like we used to have. First 2 days I couldn't do it, kept overthinking every move. Third day, Tom was reading on the couch. I sat down next to him, close enough that our legs touched. My heart was racing, felt so vulnerable. He didn't move away, and neither did I. We stayed like that for 20 minutes, just existing together. It was the first time in months I felt actually connected to him. Day 5, I reached for his hand while we watched TV. Didn't announce it, didn't ask, just took his hand. He squeezed back, and I started crying. I've missed this, I whispered. Me too, he said. I've missed you so much. Week 2 of therapy, I had to admit something difficult. I think I was using feminism as a shield to avoid intimacy. Dr. Chen asked me to explain. After we got married, I got scared of being vulnerable. Scared of needing Tom too much. Scared of losing myself like my mom did. So I started finding problems, creating distance. Made everything about consent and boundaries and emotional labor. When really I was just afraid of being hurt. Tom started crying when I said that. I looked at him and realized what I'd done. Spent 2 years making him feel broken when he wasn't. making him responsible for fixing problems he didn't create. "I'm so sorry," I told him. "You weren't the problem, I was. I took my fear and trauma and projected it all onto you." Over the next few months, we slowly rebuilt what I'd destroyed. I stopped requiring verbal consent for every touch. Started trusting that Tom knew me well enough to read my cues, and that I could tell him directly if I wasn't in the mood. Started initiating again, carefully at first, then more naturally. One night, I was making coffee and felt him come up behind me. He hesitated. I could feel the uncertainty in him. So I leaned back into him and put my hand over his. We stood there for a few minutes just breathing together. "I've missed this," he whispered. "I know. I'm sorry I took it away." "You didn't take it away. Fear did. We both let it happen." 6 months into therapy, I had another realization. I'd been reading another article about men and emotional labor. Started to explain it to Tom and felt him tense up. Dr. Chin asked what was happening. Tom said he was scared of going back to that place, where everything he did was analyzed through some framework. I looked at him and then at Dr. Chin. "I think I need to stop reading that stuff for a while." Dr. Chin asked me why. "Because it's not helping me, it's helping me avoid. Every article gives me a new reason to blame Tom. Instead of looking at my own fear and trauma, I use theory to feel righteous instead of actually working on myself." That was the moment I knew we might actually make it. Not because I rejected feminism, I still believe in equality, but because I realized that theory without nuance is just armor. And armor keeps out the bad, but also keeps out the good. Last month we celebrated our 7-year anniversary. Went to the same restaurant where we had our first date. I reached across the table and took his hand. He looked at me with such relief, such hope. "I love you," I said, "not because I have to, but because I want to." "I know," he said, "I can feel it again." We went home and made love for the first time in almost a year. Awkward after so long, but real and intimate and full of connection. Afterwards, I cried and apologized for everything. For making him feel unwanted, for pushing him away, for treating our marriage like a political statement instead of a partnership. He apologized too, for shutting down instead of fighting harder for us. We're not perfect, still in therapy, still working through damage. But we're actually touching again, connecting again. Yesterday, he hugged me from behind while I was making coffee. I leaned into him immediately, no hesitation, no fear. Just my husband showing me affection. The way it always should have been. My online feminist friends have mostly dropped away. They said I was backsliding, that I'd been brainwashed by the patriarchy. One told me I was betraying other women by prioritizing my husband's feelings. I left those groups, realized they were keeping me stuck. I still care about equality and women's issues deeply, but I'm more careful now about applying theory to real life. More willing to see gray areas and individual context. More willing to admit when I'm wrong. Tom told me recently that he can finally breathe around me again. That he's not constantly waiting for the next criticism. That he actually believes I want him, not just tolerate him. Those words broke my heart and healed it at the same time. Last night we were lying in bed, my head on his chest. I said something I'd been thinking about for weeks. "I almost lost you because I was so busy protecting myself from hypothetical harm, that I caused real harm to the person who never hurt me." He said, "Yeah, but you figured it out before it was too late." "We figured it out," I corrected him. "You could have left, you had every right to. But you stayed and fought for us even when I was fighting against us." He said he stayed because underneath all the theory and fear, he could still see the woman he married. He just needed me to see him too. I squeezed him tighter, promised myself I'd never stop seeing him again. We fell asleep like that, connected, finally home to each other. Anyway, that's the story of how I asked my husband why he stopped touching me. And he finally told me the truth. That I made him feel like affection was assault. That loving me had become something to apologize for. That he'd rather be lonely than rejected one more time. The The truth destroyed me, but it also saved us. Because hearing it forced me to look at what I'd become. Someone who used feminism as a weapon instead of wisdom. Someone who pushed away love in the name of protection. Someone who was so afraid of being my mother that I almost became something worse. A person who broke her partner while calling it boundaries. We're still healing, still learning, still figuring it out. But at least now we're doing it together. Not as adversaries with theory between us, but as partners with love leading us.